Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Books Beside My Bed video. For those of you who are new here, I film one of these every week where I wrap up the last 7 days of reading. And for those of you who are very familiar with this series, welcome back. Today is my official reading rush wrap up. I know I have been sort of sporadically uploading vlogs throughout the last 7 days, but I thought I would still do my wrap up as I would usually do because this series is a constant on my channel and I really enjoy doing it. Before I jump into my reading wrap up, I do want to start off by saying that I did finish watching season 4 of Veronica Mars and the verdict is I am not okay, and I'm going to leave it at that. If you've seen the series, you know what I mean. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Okay, so this is my reading wrap up from the 21st until the 27th of July. I read 9 books this week as part of the reading rush, a total of 2,627 pages, and my yearly reading total is up to 211 books. The first book that I read for the reading rush was to fulfill the prompt read a book and then watch the movie, and for that I read The Lost Thing by Shaun Tan. This was originally published I think in 2000 by Lothian, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is one of my favourite Shaun Tan books. It is just so whimsical and awesome. It is about a young boy who finds a lost thing on the beach and he spends the day playing with it and then takes it home and then decides to help this lost thing find its way home. And it's a beautiful, heartwarming story. It is a really good look at how we value things in society. It's an awesome book and the illustrations are absolutely incredible. You can spend ages just poring over the deeper layers of meaning in all of the pictures. I did watch the short film that was made from it and I adored that just as much as I enjoyed the book. I also really enjoyed watching some of the behind the scenes stuff, particularly the interview with Shaun Tan about the book because I haven't actually seen that before. And now all I want to do is plan a week-long unit for my class around The Lost Thing, comparing the book and the film and doing a whole lot of activities. So if that happens, I will let you guys know. Then I read The Extinction Trials by S.M. Wilson, and this was to fulfill the prompt to read a book that you were supposed to read last year or you meant to read last year. I picked this up originally because it was supposed to be Jurassic Park meets The Hunger Games, and I have to say I was a little bit disappointed. This was published in 2018 by Osmond and I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Storm Chaser and Lincoln live in a ruined world where everything is very tightly controlled and people live in fear of the dinosaurs who live on a remote island in a space that humans would like to take over because they need more land, but the dinosaurs are quite dangerous for them and the humans don't have the tools or the skill to survive in that environment. So every year they send a team of people out to see if they can gather more scientific intelligence or find ways of killing the dinosaurs or what have you. Storm and Lincoln end up being sent over there and it's, you know, a survival story, but honestly it was forget-worthy and it was okay while I was reading it and I can see why people would like it, but it really didn't pack the punch that I was expecting it to, especially if you're going to call on two very, very popular series as a cross of what this book is. So that was disappointing. For the prompt to read a book in the same spot the whole time, I read The Brightsiders by Jen Wilde, and I'm also potentially doubling this up with the read a book with purple on the cover, but I'll come to that later. This is a 2018 Love Osway story published by Squarefish and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love Jen Wilde's work. I think she's incredible. Her stories are so easy to read. This follows Emmy King, who is the drummer in a very, very successful band, and her life is sort of spiraling out of control as she goes off the rails. As we dig deeper into Emmy's personal demons, we learn that she has had a very tough personal life growing up with her parents who have basically continued to live the life that they were living before they had a kid and are very inconvenienced by having a child, to the point where at 17, Emmy left them and they continue to use her for her fame and her money. Emmy starts to fall for one of her bandmates, Elfie, and the whole thing sort of takes off from there. And it's just awesome. There is amazing representation in this book, as with all Jen Wilde's books. If you're looking for a great young adult diverse read, definitely check her out. For the prompt to read a book with a non-human main character, I read The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. This was a 2012 release from HarperCollins and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is a beautiful middle grade book about Ivan, who is a gorilla who has been kept in a sort of mall cage for a very long time. He grew up with humans living in the mall owner's home, and then when he became too big, he became an attraction in this sort of game arcade sort of place. And Ivan is quite happy there. It's all he's ever known. So he every now and then he gets a little bit annoyed about it, but for the most part, he's okay until Ruby is brought along and she's the new attraction and she's a baby elephant, and he becomes determined to make sure that she is safe and he wants to try and get her to a zoo where she'll be looked after and won't be stuck in a cage for the rest of her life like he is. It is utterly beautiful. The chapters are super short as you just get Ivan's perspective. It's about friendship and it's about animal rights and it's about never giving up. It was just beautiful, and I am very much looking forward to taking this into my classroom and talking about it with my class. For the challenge to read an author's debut book, I read Nocturna by Maya Montaigne, which came in my Fairy Loot box. And this is an utterly beautiful looking book with an ultimately average plot. This is a 2019 release from Hodder and Stoughton, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I could even possibly bump it down to 2.5. It was okay. It is set in a world where most people have access to some kind of magic. It is very Latinx inspired, and all that stuff was fine. I absolutely enjoyed sort of that aspect of it. We follow 2 main characters, Prince Elfie, who is the younger son of the people who currently rule this kingdom, and he is returning home after the death/disappearance of his older brother, and he's supposed to be ready to take on the role of the crown prince, and yet he's not quite ready to let go of the fact that he believes his brother is still alive and out there somewhere, and it's his job to bring him home. He crosses paths with Finn, who is a young street thief, and she has the ability to change her appearance like molding clay, so she can become anyone she wants to. One unfortunate evening, Elfie accidentally unleashes a very, very dark magic upon the world, and so Elfie and Finn decide to work together to stop the world from being torn apart. The magic in the world was really interesting, but the plot was very slow. It's quite a large book, and I just expected the pacing to be a little bit better. I'll be keeping the book because the book is really pretty, but I don't know if I'll continue the series. So this is where I completely went off the rails with my TBR, because I basically decided that I didn't want to read any more fantasy, and the last 2 books on my TBR were fantasy, and I just needed to put them aside. So for the book challenge to read a book with 5 words in the title, I decided to read The King of Bourbon Street by Thea DeSalle. This is a book that I heard about from Chelsea Dolling Reads. It is a 2017 release from Pocket Star, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is an adult erotic romance series. There's a lot of adult content in it, so beware of it going into it. It was fun. There were some awkward moments in it. So the main characters are Sol, who owns a chain of hotels, and he lives and runs the one in New Orleans, and he's a playboy. I'm pretty sure he's bisexual, and after the death of his father and a split from his ex-wife Maddie, he's sort of spiraled a little bit until he meets Rain Barrington, who is an heiress who escapes her own sex scandal in the North to hide out in New Orleans, and the two have this sort of whirlwind love at first sight sort of thing. It was fun, it was entertaining. It is very, very adult, so if you're not into that, I'd avoid it. To fill the spot of read a book with purple on the cover, I did pick up Silver Silence, which has a tiny little bit of purple here, which is why I said the Brightsiders can also count as that challenge. Silver Silence was published in 2017 by Gallant, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is the 16th book in the Psy Changeling series, or book 1 in the Psy Trinity series, which is sort of the second season of this series. It follows Silver Mercant, who is a Psy who works for Caleb Krychek, and the Mercants are a family of Psys who are very well respected and feared amongst the rest of the Psy community because they are information brokers. And Silver is seen to be this quite untouchable figure, and she is also the head of the Mnet as of the end of the last book of the series. She is being pursued by Valentine, who is the alpha of the Stonewater Bear clan, and he is utterly adorable. The story opens with Valentine breaking into her apartment building and interrupting Silver's breakfast just in time to actually save her when she is poisoned in an attempted murder. In order to get her out of a situation, he and her grandmother, the matriarch of the Mercant family, decide that she should spend some time in the Stonewater Bear clan den, and there she begins testing the limits of her silence, and the whole thing was just highly entertaining and adorable, and Valentine is my new favourite of the male leads in the series, and the Bear clan is my new favourite clan because they're utterly adorable, from all of the adult characters who are nosy and in everyone's business to the baby bears, which are called tiny little bear gangsters, and it is utterly adorable. I just loved it, and I am reinvigorated to continue reading the books in the series. Now I only have 2 left that are currently published, which I can't believe I'm catching up on this book series that's 18 books long. I also read Wolf Girl by Anne Doe. This was for no particular challenge in the reading rush, it just happened to count. It is a 2019 release from Allen and Unwin, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It is a Love Oz kids book, it's middle grade, and it is sort of, I want to say kind of dystopian, but it's our world. There's been a war, and the main character Gwen was escaping with her family when she was separated from them, and she ends up having to survive on her own in the woods with only 4 dogs an eagle, and a wolf for company. And they become quite close. They're like family. They go through this whole situation together, and then there's a cliffhanger ending because it's a middle grade book and they want you to read the next book in the series. It was okay. I know my kids will really enjoy this. They're really on the lookout for lots of adventure and action-packed books. So they'll get a kick out of it, and I'll take it in and share it with them during the week. And then finally, I read the second book in the King of Bourbon Street series, which is, I forgot to say, it's called the Nola Knights series. And I read the Queen of Delphine Street, which is the story of Maddie Soul's ex-wife. This was written by Thea DeSalle in 2017 and published by Pocket Star. It follows Maddie, who, as I mentioned, is the ex-wife of Soul, and she's sort of this professional socialite with a huge family business empire. And she's rich beyond rich and eccentric as a result of it, but she's also had a lot of stuff going on in her life. At the start of the book, she is introduced to Darren, who is a Texan boy who is over 6 feet tall and by all rights gorgeous. He is completely different to anything that Maddie has known before, and he's quite interested in her, but in a very open way. And when an attempt is made on his life, she offers to help him out and let him stay on her very, very fancy boat, complete with her pet tiger and personal chef and all sorts of things, to recover and to basically stay out of the way while they try and track down his stalker, who happens to be his ex-girlfriend, who is an alcoholic and has been quite violent towards him in the past. The one thing I really liked about this book, and I like this book a lot more than I did The King of Bourbon Street, I think I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars, was the way that it talked about domestic abuse and how it's not always men who perpetuate the domestic abuse. And even though Darren is a big guy and quite imposing, he was being abused by his ex-girlfriend, who is a tiny little thing, and how he's in therapy. Maddie's in therapy for things that happened in her adolescence, and I liked how open they were about that. We didn't get to see a lot of the therapy or anything like that, but it was talked about, which I appreciated. Maddie is a fantastic character. She is pansexual and she is not afraid to be the boss and to get her way. Darren just told dad jokes the whole way through the book, which I thought was hilarious. And overall, I just thought it was an interesting read. It was ridiculous, but it wasn't as ridiculous as The King of Bourbon Street. So yes, but yes, again, very adult content. So be wary of that going into it. So those are all the books that I read in the last 7 days. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books or if you're planning to read them in the future. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.